Okay, it's time for us to take you back to Nasrec, where today is the final day of the ANC's 6th Policy Conference. Members of the African National Congress have discussed a range of issues. For more on this, we are now joined by SABC News reporter Natasha Phiri, who joins us now from Nasrec. Natasha, great to have you back on the program. What's the latest coming out of Nasrec?
Thank you so much, Mkolisi. So, we are focusing on the issue of social transformation and especially the issue of gender equality. And this comes, just a day before Women's Month. And in light of, the sad news that have been dawning our headlines this past week, the brutal, violation of those ladies. I'm joined by, the leadership and members of the ANC Women's League. And we'll just be engaging with these women. These women, I beg your pardon, the strides they have made in terms of gender equality over the years. I'm joined by a person who's no stranger to South Africans, the ANC Women's League coordinator, Marupeni Ramokgopa. And of course, you would know that at a certain time, when she was just 26 years old, she was appointed as one of the mayors in the Eastern Cape at a very young age. Northern Cape, I beg your pardon, sorry for that. Ms. Ramokgopa, thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. The issue of gender equality is a huge issue, and I think sometimes it has been downplayed. Yesterday we heard there that the ANC Women's League, the proposition that was brought forth by the ANC Women's League at the last conference of chemical castrations once again came up.
Yes, it came up in commissions, and as the ANC Women's League, we definitely support that, because we do believe that the current response to gender-based violence is not yielding the fruits that we want. Therefore, we need to make sure that we put sanctions that would be able to at least deal with this pandemic that we have said it's a pandemic, supporting what the president said. We do believe that if we put harsher sanctions, definitely we will be able to see a better result, because currently what we are trying to put in place is not yielding the fruits that we would like to see. As you could see what has happened in Krugersdorp and what is continuously happening in society as it relates to gender-based violence.
The strides that the ANC Women's League has made in terms of, advancing gender equality, especially within the movement, are you satisfied as the ANC Women's League, or could you actually do much more?
We do believe that we have done well in making sure that structures of this movement does have gender parity. However, we believe that there is a strategic structure in the ANC that is called the office bearer. Some would call it top 6, in provinces you'd call it top 5. So we believe that in office bearers, we also need 50% gender parity. But we're not only saying that we only need gender parity, but we're saying that we would like to adopt a rule that has been used in other countries, like our sister organizations such as SAPO in Namibia, whereby if the president is a woman, then the deputy can be a man. So there need to be that parity in that way. That's what we have suggested, and we do believe that the delegates of this conference are supporting us and has received this submission well.
And let's talk more about that submission. It's a very interesting one. How was it received?
It was received well. In fact, the whole gender subcommittee's report that have been placed here has been received very well. The entity of the ANC Women's League has also been received well, not only as a structure, but in different structures of the organization. It is very clear that the delegates of this conference are actually happy that the ANC Women's League is now taking a stand, and it is now taking the direction that we would be able to see the structures of the ANC Women's League taking its place, not only in the ANC, but in society as a whole, to represent the plight of women in totality.
Can I also take this discussion further? Let me just bring in Mam Tina. Okay.
And what was interesting yesterday was that the issue of gender was not only raised by women, it was put forward by our male comrades, and really that was really encouraging for us.
Yeah. Are you satisfied with the level of debates that have been ensuing behind closed doors in plenary?
We are definitely.
Mam Tina, are you happy? The level of debates? The caliber of debate?
The first happiness that we have in our hearts is that we have the caliber of young women representing us in the Women's League. So we can hand over the baton. If you can see, we are surrounded by young women The matter of eldership is not an issue for us. The matter of the LGBTQI community is not a problem for the Women's League. The Women's League has embraced the LGBTQI community. We have embraced young women. I think our program of action now is to work with the Youth League to ensure that we take young women to the streets, and our Women's League will take our women to the streets. We'll become members of the CPFs, the Community Policing Forums. We'll claim the night. We'll claim the streets. We want to make our streets safer for our women. We are not going to tolerate gender-based violence. We are not just going to have summits about gender-based violence, talk shops and documents. We are going to, women have been used to owning their streets, having street committees. So we are going back to work with younger women in their universities, in their workplaces, where you are having sexual harassment of younger women, where women have to pay with sexual favors if they want to be promoted. So there's a long program, and we have a plan of action. We have a program. The 50-50 victory that we have, where officials of the ANC, the office bearers, previously the argument was that the officials are not a structure of the ANC. But now we can lay claim to the fact that in this conference we are making history. 50 and 50, parity, equity, gender-based equality, young women. We want to see young women in the officials. We don't just want to have deputy positions. We've always been deputy secretary. We've always been deputizing. There's also been a reduction of the women in the officials. We first had 2 officials. It was reduced to the late comrade Jessie Duarte. She did so much for us. She put us there, and we then need to bring our young women of the Youth League and in the Women's League. You will now see we are younger. So what? Yes, my younger is here. So the last point we'd like to make then is when we go to the ANC conference and we fight for 50-50 in our branches, in our regions, we want to see women from business, women from the education sector, professionals, all sectors must represent the Women's League. Women's League, we support step aside. We want the step aside policy to be retained. We are firmly in support of the step aside policy. It will be retained. We are saying very carefully, if we do away with the step aside policy, we'll be doing away with the ANC in government. Women make up the majority of the voters of the ANC, the majority of the members of the ANC, and we are here to claim our space.
Interesting conversations there. So the ANC actually is ready for female presidents?
The ANC is ready for the 50% quota. That's what.
But do you not think that it's long overdue that a woman should be at the helm of the ANC?
There's a way that the ANC does its thing. So as women, our position is just 50%. We're still going to have discussions. We can't make decisions on our own. We need to have a broader forum so that we can make a progressive view as a collective, not as individuals.
And Mama, speaking about the ANC Women's League conference, I mean, will it happen? It needs to take place this year. It's long overdue.
I can assure you that it is going to happen. We've been appointed as an entity, and we've been given 9 months to prepare for the conference, both at the provincial level and at the national level. I can tell you now that with this leadership here, the team is ready to go to provinces to make sure that there are structures at branch level, and that we launch all the provincial executive committees, and then we'll come to the national conference. Definitely it's going to happen within 9 months. We are ready to do that. There's one other element that I wanted to raise in relation to issues of women. You know, the issue of sanitary towels.
Oh, yeah. Which was raised also yesterday.
Yes, which Mamtina has just said, we have now more youngers in the organization, and we need to make sure that government makes sure that in each and every area where there are condoms, in the bathrooms, wherever, there should be sanitary towels. We can't be prioritizing that only and not prioritize issues of women. So we need to make sure that everywhere else there are sanitary towels. As we meet here, you will find that we have spoken about a few young women who have had accidents here. And I think that if they were everywhere in the bathrooms, we wouldn't have had these accidents. They would have just gone to the bathroom and get what they wanted. Thank you very much.
Imbagotobi, thank you so much. I would have loved to rope you in, but because of time, we have to cut it short. Thank you so much for those robust engagements. Of course, you've heard it there from the women in the ANC on a number of issues, the rollout of free sanitary towels across the country. Also, on the step aside resolution, they are resolute, saying that it must be retained. Mkolisi, I wish I had a longer time to actually speak to these women. But of course, with that said, I'll cross back to you in studio.
Well, thank you very much for those conversations there. Natasha, speaking about bridging the gender gap there. This is at the back of the ANC's 6th policy conference currently underway in Nasrec. Closure is expected to happen in the next few hours, and we'll be bringing it to you as and when it happens.